Welcome back to another episode of What About Dat? My name's Adair. With the help of my friend Jen, we'll be going over Wynonna Earp Season 201, Steel Bars and Stonewall. So, sit back, relax, and ask yourselves, what about that? All right, so, hey everybody. We're going to do a little, where were we now? Where do we come from? For those of you just joining us, Wynonna Earp Season 1 was friggin' awesome. The fandom went nutso and really harassed, appropriately harassed, the Sci-Fi Channel and, all the higher-ups to give us a second season. So, where do we leave off on the first season? Well, let me tell you. Yeah. We have Wynonna, shooting her sister Willa, because she's a cunt. I said it. Yeah, I said it. We got Waverly touching some black goo. We all know you should keep your hands to yourself. Waverly, what the fuck? We got Nicole Hot being shot by Willow because she's a cunt. And surviving because she's a lesbian with a bulletproof vest. Woo whoop for breaking those tropes, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to 2017. Anyways, we got Dolls, who's like the freaking beast. Nobody knows what the hell he is, but guess who's really intrigued? Doc. He loves him some dolls turning into a monster. He finds it fascinating. Then we got the love triangle. We got all kinds of BS. The town got all jacked up because some bubbly that's all a mess. Nicole punched out Champ. You know what? This was just all over a great season. So we're picking up season 2 at the end of Waverly shooting a gun at Wynonna and Doc. Ultimately, we find out she was killing a guy with all teeth and no eyes. That's really what was happening. What is that monster called? Does anybody actually figure out what that red tooth beast is? Because I don't know. But yeah, so welcome. That was a quick recap of season 1.
The first thing we see is a nice cold open, and we have Waverly and Doc. They're running from a monster. They're saved by Wynonna, and Wynonna pops out with a large branch, hits the monster, then shoots it with Peacekeeper. And it's like, welcome back, kids. This is what you've missed. It's almost like the writers were just reintroducing us to the tone, the world, and the characters in that moment.
I think that hair flip really said hello to all of us,
Right.
The hero hair flip. I was all about it.
The whole goal of this episode, which I really appreciated because it created a neatly knit together, sewn together episode, was the goal was to rescue Dolls. He had been taken away and he was on his way to a Black Rock prison, and he has been turned into some sort of a monster, or maybe he was always a monster. We're not really sure what he is at this point, but he gets really yellow eyes and he clearly needs some form of medication to keep himself in control. That's the goal of the episode, and Wynonna is our main character is as determined as ever to free her friend Dolls. And I thought that this was really, really clear and concise. And what we're dealing with right now is the fallout of season 1's finale. So Wynonna has become a public blight on the community. One of the things I felt that really summed up where she's at in terms of her world, in relation to her world, is it was said really nicely. Wynonna's the hero purgatory deserves, not the one that it necessarily needs right now. What are your thoughts on that, Adair?
I mean, I like it. I think that's the truth. I like the fact that with this new season, we kind of have a clear, quick goal of, getting Dolls. Besides killing the remnants and figuring out the monsters now, we have, save Dolls. And I really think that it's a pretty effective way to kind of get us back into season 2,
Yeah, I felt like the pacing was really very, very fast for this episode. I was going to say, it just jumps right into the action a few days after Dolls is taken away.
Yeah, and I think it's quite nice that we don't have to, they're not starting over. A lot of TV shows will start the pacing and everything completely over on a new season, to accommodate the people who had never seen the show. because the show, the second season got made because of the fans, they're like, hey, this season is for the fans. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be for the people who love us. So we're going to jump in for them. And if you are new, go back, watch season 1, come back, enjoy, and be just as big as a fan as everybody else is. So I really actually appreciate that they're just like, here we go. You know, that's awesome.
So what we have in the first episode of season 2 is we also have the Black Badge. It's cleaning up and it's covering up the outbreak that took place in the finale last season. They have a hazmat team and they've gone in to clean up possums, I believe. And then we have Wynonna Earp, and she herself is dealing with the fallout of having to be responsible again for ending the life of one of her family members, Willa. And we met her last in the pilot, coming back to Purgatory with this heavy guilt hanging over her after she having felt responsible for having killed her father. So now we have Wynonna bearing another family member, and this is really, really weighing hard on her, and she is not allowing herself to stop or slow down, so she's driven to find dolls out of her own need to be away from her own pain. And so that's kind of like what is going on with the main character, which is a strong how. It's a strong drive. It's a strong engine for season 2.
I really enjoy that. I think that's really nice that we have this emotional, like, sadness, or not weakness, but this is just emotional, thing going on, because it's more like there's no revenge. It's not really revenge. It's not really like, gotta get him, purpose. It's just like, I don't want to see another person I love die. I'm tired of being blamed.
Yeah, and she's also kind of in a weak place because of that. And one of the things that's really great about the character Doc is how compassionate he is. He's someone who clearly has a lot of love for her, and he understands that she's in this emotionally vulnerable place, and he kind of like picks up the mantle for her at one point. I don't want to spoil the episode if anyone hasn't seen it, but yeah, he does. He takes it upon himself to be responsible to her, and I think that's kind of like really interesting between dolls and Doc. Like, that's an interesting difference, Doc is always responsible to her emotionally, and I think dolls is more like he tends to respond to her in a physical sense. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, gotta protect you. Gotta make sure you're safe physically, and like, I don't want, yes, he loves her too, but like, it's more of a physicality than
Doc. It comes
is
from like this protector place, whereas Doc, he is more someone inclined to be concerned for her emotional well-being.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they were setting it up because, right now Waverly is a little on the possess side, and a lot on the possess side, and they've kind of teased that she won't be there emotionally for her sister. Not the way that she normally is, because she's not there at the moment. No. She's not present. But I like the fact that they're setting up that Doc will be more emotionally strong for, I guess, both of them in a way. Because he might figure out what's going on with Waverly. He might not, He's very savvy in that regard because he is himself a type of, not really remnant, but he is, a unique person, being the fact that he's Doc Holliday and the same age as her grandfather, So
it's kind of like, yeah,
exactly. So he's gonna have some knowledge and wisdom that they need. Out of all of that, and I think that'll be a cool dynamic to see Waverly kind of back up, Doc take precedence, and then see how him being so caring affects Wynonna. How is that gonna affect the triangle between her, Doc, and dolls? That's gonna be very fascinating.
Yes, and also this episode had a lovely guest star, Rachel Skarsten from Lost Girl. I was telling you this, Jer, off mic, but I'll say it here. I just think this actress is so wonderful. I think any show she's on, she elevates it, and I really, really loved how they introduced her. Like, Wynonna goes to Dolls' hotel. She breaks in. Eliza's hiding there in the closet, and you have this like really fun choreography fight scene between Wynonna and Eliza, and they're really well matched against each other. I enjoyed the fighting in this. I thought it was so fun.
I even loved the banter during the fighting. I thought that was because they weren't just physically fighting; they were verbally fighting, which was really funny too.
These actresses have a lot of chemistry, and it's like, I mean, no one's more badass than Wynonna in her world, but I would say Eliza's almost at her level, and maybe at her level, and I love that. I thought that she would be a great addition to the squad, and I was really excited to see her on the show. I also felt like I wasn't bothered by the fact that it wasn't like Eliza's character was that much different from Tamsin from Lost Girl. They were kind of like the same character, kind of same stereotype. But I liked that because I felt like it really, really worked well with Wynonna.
Well, yeah, it's like use what you got. Also, there's something that I had thought about, and maybe you guys in the comments could let me know, or like we could discuss it. I have a huge theory that some of the revenants from Wynonna Earp were also part of the demon world, or the that side in Lost Girl. Yes, we know that they are slightly connected, but they've actually made a few connections here and there to like both those shows of being fae. So the thing is, they call in Lost Girl the revenants fae, and then here they call them revenants. And so I wonder if they are very much the same thing. Just like, we might call somebody something different in a different country or a different area, but they're the same thing. So I would like to see a little bit more crossover, because I have a feeling that might happen. Just might be unintentional, because of Emily writing it. But I think that's really cool. And having Tamsin, or quote unquote Eliza here, gave it that feeling, gave it that moment. So I'm kind of stoked about that.
I mean, Tamsin's like a reincarnated Viking, right?
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie. Yeah, I mean, she could have been reincarnated again as Eliza. Done. And just having lost her memory.
Well, the guy like season 1, who was named JC, who kind of just popped out of nowhere, he gave me a very Trick feeling, where Trick was very like wise and old and all this stuff, and he's been around forever. So that guy JC kind of gave me that same feeling. So that's why I'm like, I wonder if there is a connection between the Fae and the Revenants.
That's interesting. I think that's a great point that you made right there. That's really interesting.
I think it's kind of fun. So let's like I said, hit me up in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I feel like I could see the parallel in the tone and the worlds. It'd be a fun thing to see. I also wrote a note about later on in the episode about how I really hope that the Rachel Scarston character, I hope she's alive, and I hope that we see her again later in the series as the episodes continue, because she is a demon, or we don't know, she's not necessarily human, and she has this commonality with dolls. They're both suffering something together, and I felt like it was too soon to see her go, and too much character development to see her completely leave. And I think I would even say it while Dolls is on the run, it'd be fun to see this character teaming up with Wynonna and kind of doing more detective black agent working, joining the squad. Also, can I just say the squad is like, there's more women than men in the squad. It's a very feminist-friendly squad. I really appreciate that as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're not going to just sit back and let anybody, tell them what to do. I really, with this whole Black Badge and the Dolls thing, look, guys, I think it's really kind of cool. They're kind of getting into mutant territory with Dolls, which I'm okay with, because I can completely see him going in a very Wolverine, those two people, a Wolverine aspect. They were soldiers who, as Eliza said, were made into that. So they weren't originally like that, but they were made into it. Maybe they have to have certain sickness to already be there. Like maybe they're, there are those video games out there where, oh gosh, what is it? They just had one that premiered, and the guy was handicapped, got an exoskeleton and then he's saving the world in this exoskeleton, but he had to be injured in order to even be considered for that program. So maybe Dolls and Eliza had something wrong with them and were volunteered to be these soldiers, you know what I'm saying? And then it went wrong in their bodies or whatever. So I really can't wait to see. There's a chance that Eliza will come back because there are two moments in the episode that really, to me, made me feel like that was the case. Earlier when Wynonna, after whatever happens to Eliza happens, she goes, we didn't know her. And she kind of said what the audience felt like, wow, that was quick. Like, dang, we just got to know her. What the heck? And then the guy doing the black badge, the main black badge guy, kind of just alluded like, oh, she's disposable. But the way they do stuff for the black badge doesn't seem like that's the case. I can completely see them being kind of like Wolverine people that regenerate. So he might know where to shoot somebody to get the point across. You know what I'm saying? He might be able to inflict pain on these type of people, and they sign up, of course, because they're like, oh, crap, he'll shoot us, but maybe he knows. Who knows? But I don't really think this is the last time we see her. Maybe not in a full-time capacity, but she might pop up again as a surprise at the end.
Yeah, I thought it was a really great guest star to start off your season 2 with, because you really do bring in the Lost Girl peeps and into the Wynonna world, and there's probably already a lot of that crossover fandom.
What's a bummer about this whole black badge thing, and we all feel bad, and I think Emily did a great job writing it, was the isolation of Nicole Hot. I thought that was kind of it's going to be a strong storyline, not just because of the way Hot, but we've asked to know more about her. And I think that this is going to be a huge line for her, because not only don't we know anything personally about her, but we can see the passion and the need for her to be in this high society. She wants to be an agent. She really does love her job. And like I said, way Hot aside, it really bums her out as a police officer who's passionate about her job, who's gotten excluded again. She got accepted. She felt accepted. She was part of the club, and then instantly out of the club. And I think that'll be something really cool to watch her develop throughout the season. Is she going to, on her own, become a better agent? Is she going to, as we talked about earlier, Jen and I, pair up with Dolls, who's on the run, because they're now both on the outskirts of the black badge? Are we going to see her take a little bit more charge in her own surrounding, as opposed to just waiting for someone to clue her in? You know what I'm saying?
I'm also curious to see how she deals with the public fallout, because, we know the community is against Wynonna, has a terrible opinion of her, because she pretty much gets the blame. But Nicole Hot, if she's still, a police officer in the community, then she is having to deal with, her girlfriend's sister's drama and kind of take care of the community in that aspect. So I'm really interested to see that as well.
And then also just see her deal with her girlfriend, who's acting completely erratic right now. Well, not yet completely erratic, but the fact that...
The signs are starting to show.
The signs are popping up, and, Nicole Hot is very forgiving. But I really, really find it fascinating, kind of how you talked about, or we had talked about Wynonna and her heat thing, and we can talk about that in a minute, how Nicole has an intuition as well. Yeah, she kissed Waverly and was like, you taste different. Like, what the heck? Which is also freaky that changed her body chemistry. But...
The black goo changed her body chemistry.
Yeah.
I imagine that she probably tastes like burnt tar, because that's what I think the black glue probably tastes like.
She would have been like, babe, why do you taste like black tar? So
I was thinking, I was like, why do you have a tar tinge after flavor to you? Ew. Just continue.
That's gross. But
well, I was trying to imagine it. I was like, what? Wow, I don't know.
I get it. But yeah, I think that's interesting. And then, just having that, like, hey, babe, can you tell me the plan before you have an axe by my head? Like, I don't know. She's kind of already feeling weird And I don't know if she's going to think it's her, like, oh, Waverly's changing for some reason because of her, or maybe they're stressed. I don't know, but it's going to be
She's
a
going to
very...
assume she's responsible for the change.
Yeah. And I think it's a very cool story that they're going with her. Because, like I said, besides Way Hot, I'm really kind of fascinated in seeing her as an agent or her as a police officer, seeing more of her and seeing her take charge. And they have set it up that that's going to be the case because they would not, when they all did the contract signing and Nicole was left out, they were setting up that she's going to be very important because if, she wasn't, they wouldn't have made a huge deal about it.
She's going to be the only person who's not bound by this weird blood signing. And I actually wrote a note how I feel like that blood signing is going to have a deeper consequences.
Oh, yeah.
Especially because as Eliza, before she gets shot, the last thing she says is, don't sign anything. That's like the last line she says. And that's a huge foreshadowing that if you sign this contract, you basically sign your soul away or something. Probably, right?
And so, I think that's actually so smart that they put that in. I think also Waverly having Nicole set it up. She tastes different. So her body chemistry is different. That blood that she signed, Waverly, is going to be different. It's not going to be...
I was thinking that as well, actually. I was thinking, like, if she cut her finger, she's going to bleed black. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I didn't even think black. I just figured if she tastes different and then she's signing her blood on this contract, I think her signature is going to be null and void. I don't think it's going to count because it's not her blood. Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe.
Which is also scary to know that then that entity might be contractually obligated to the black badge. You know what I'm saying? That demon might come back because it's now linked to black badge. I think that might be interesting.
Here's a theory I have right here. Okay, so, last season there was the cliffhanger where Bobo tells Waverly that she's not even an Earp. Yeah. What if this thing that's in Waverly is like, it's clearly something that's possessing her? What if instead of speaking to Waverly, he was speaking to the thing in her that she was unaware of? So maybe she is an Earp, but maybe she has this other entity within her she was clearly unaware of. And so, it could have been that, Bobo was conscious of it because he was the guy keeping all the revenants in order, in line. And it could have been that he was sending a message to her that she wasn't even conscious of at the time.
Maybe. I have my own kind of theories of what Waverly is. I think, because he even talked about knowing her as a baby. So knowing her as a baby and knowing she wasn't his daughter, that kind of puts a wrench on maybe it's a demon. But like I said, Purgatory is about containing demons, and also the guy JC said it was a sanctuary. Well, if they're killing all these revenants, who is being saved in Purgatory? Like, what entity is being protected? And I think it's Waverly. I think she might actually be some type of angel or some type of good thing. That's why she's so inherently good. So that when she has this black goo, she goes so to the left.
But here's the question I have for you, okay? Just to support your theory. Has Waverly in the series, I'm just trying to remember for myself, has she left Purgatory ever?
No.
All right, there it is.
Yeah, and even, what's her name? Oh,
Wynonna?
goodness. No, the owner of Shorty's.
Gus?
Gus, there it is. Even Gus kind of like said it when she hands her the check. She goes, this is freedom. Go out and live your life. Do what you want. See the world. You're not meant to be a small town waitress for the rest of your life. So I think that Waverly might be some type of ethereal being or something good because, she's inherently good, but, it's Purgatory and she's never left. And the fact that Bobo, this demon guy who's known forever, hurts a baby is like, yeah, you're not even an Earp. Like, you don't even know, so maybe Wyatt was being told to protect this person. Also giving her anybody else feel like that never got resolved? The keeper of the bones. She became the safekeeper of these bone things or whatever. And I'm like, you don't just give that to just a human or a person. He probably knew what he was doing. She's inherently good, so it's going to always protect what's important to her. So that's why I said the goo is probably going to wreak more havoc because it's going to alter that state. Yeah, I don't know. I also think it's really interesting that it makes her stronger. That's scary. Strong Waverly. Anybody ready for it? I am. Sign me up. I know. Anything else about this episode that really sticks out to you?
Yeah, a few things. I feel like there are a couple of hints towards what Waverly is. One of my predictions was that one of the things I thought was like, first Nicole Hot said, I wanted to say way hot. Nicole Hot says, "Oh, you taste different," and then there was another scene where Wynonna enters the settlement, and she tells Rachel Scarsden's character Eliza that she has her own squad of peeps, and this is as they're planning to go and break into the bread factory. Wynonna enters, and she has like a physical reaction, and I felt like that was pertained to Waverly and her biological change. Like Wynonna physically was in the house and it's snowing outside, it's cold as fuck, but she felt really hot, and then she takes off her jacket and she's kind of like really hot, and then Waverly is like, "Can we talk?" So I felt like maybe Wynonna is having a reaction to Waverly. If Waverly has a demon in her, maybe when she's going to be around Waverly, she's going to physically have this like almost this like allergy to a demon. And I thought that was maybe some foreshadowing right there.
Yeah, I think that's so smart. Like the idea of, Emily writing that intuition. Nicole can taste it. She's a little off put by her. Wynonna being in this place is obviously going to ignore that feeling of like, oh, it's my sister. Mm-hmm. But I think it might come up where that might be a thing where she's just like, I feel really weird around
Waverly. Hot.
Yeah. And she would never feel that way. The two people who love Waverly the most are like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for Doc to also feel it, because then that'll be confirmation, because they kind of always believe what Doc got to say.
When the stakes are that high and they're trapped and, it's save dolls or the sister, honestly, for Wynonna, it'd be a greater loss to lose her other sister. So you would think that Doc is taking on the higher stakes, but in reality, he isn't. In reality, he's taking on, like the plot A becomes B, and Wynonna goes to save Waverly, and that becomes A. And so Wynonna goes after the higher stakes in pertains to what matters to her. She goes to save that extra sister. And I thought that was a great support that Doc gave to Wynonna. I really like him. But can I just say, I don't really know how I feel about Doc and being in love with Wynonna. I don't. Because he's like this reincarnated being who's like,
that makes shit complicated.
It makes it weird. I'm like, you were the best friend of her great-great-grandfather, and now you want to bone his great-great-granddaughter.
Not want to. He does.
Yeah, I know. And I just think but also there's something homoerotic about that to me, where it's like, maybe he was in love. This is my own thing. Okay. Maybe
this is Jen making her own fan art. Or
I'm just saying, maybe he had such love for the great-grandfather that when he sees the opportunity in the granddaughter, he goes for it. But I feel like there's some homoerotic undertones in Doc's love for Earps in general. The original Earp was a man. Just saying.
That's all you.
I'm just saying, it is. It is. If you think of the pathology of it.
Write in the comments down below if you guys are like understanding that feeling.
If you think of the pathology of it, I feel like he's going after what he couldn't have in another life, and he really couldn't have that in that time space of that another life. But anyways, that's a whole other class. Whole other level.
I really, in this episode, and honestly, guys, I feel like it's going to happen in this season. I really like the fact that Emily is giving this season to us, the people who helped her get season 2. It's not a matter of like, if you're new, come on in. It's like, these are for the people who've been there. If you want to be part of the club, go back, watch it. You're going to be good to go. I think that things like having Wynonna say, "Oh, you're a hot mess," having Dominique use her actual accent, frickin' brilliant. And Jen, you had told me about a scene that kind of foreshadowed it, which I think is great.
Yeah, in the pilot, when Wynonna first starts to have to work for the the Black Badge division, when she first teams up with dolls, she brings in Waverly as an expert or to help her out. And Waverly's so excited to work for the Black Badge. She's like, "Yes, now I get to dress up in disguises and use my accents." And Wynonna's like, "No, you don't." And here, that's like just like a little throwaway line. And here you go, season 2, first episode. We have Waverly in costume using her accents.
Exactly. And, I love the fact that, they make the little nudge of Nicole going, "That's the worst British accent I've ever heard." When, for those of you who don't know, Dominique, she is British. So she's actually just using her normal accent.
Her Wikipedia page says she's also Canadian. So it's like...
Well, they speak all kinds of things. It's like, she's British foremost because she'll tell you she's Brit.
There is one character I do want to talk about before we...
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Jeremy. I don't know my thoughts on this guy. I think if I had any criticism, I would say introducing the lab rat Jeremy, who's working with the monsters when Waverly breaks into the bread factory to go after to help save Wynonna. She's the plan B. I didn't really know how I felt about them. I felt like he was a little bit too convenient, and I felt like immediately I realized his place in this world, that he was going to be the win of this world, because I felt like
yes.
He's going to be the tech guy who does the opening of the doors to all the mazes. And
I think he's also there to help to help dolls with his medication. I think he's the one who's going to be making the serums for dolls so he stays human. And, I bet he might have something to do with figuring out what's inside of Waverly.
I felt like I didn't really... I right now, my opinion of him isn't super high. I just feel like, do we need him? Is he essential? Is he doing something that couldn't be discovered by any other character? And that is yet to be established. And I was just thinking, the last thing I think the show needs is a tropey tech guy. And that was my thought when I saw him. But this could be also me responding, because I had such a response to when we were recapping Supergirl, to the character Wynn, how he always has these easy answers that kind of save the day. And I don't think that's what Wynonna will do. But I felt like I didn't love him. I didn't hate him. I didn't care. I wish he kind of had got... If the guy, the Black Badge head agent guy, if he had shot anyone, I would have shot Jeremy, not Rachel Scarsden. But that's just choices.
Yeah, no, I get it. And yes, that honestly, the whole Wynn and Supergirl thing does leave a bad taste in your mouth for any other...
It's a trope, you know what I mean? It's a trope.
It is a trope.
And the tech guy with the answers.
You had asked something... does he play a function that nobody else can do? At the moment in this show, yes, he does. There are no quote-unquote tech people in this group. Waverly is a historian, ultimately. Nicole is the local police, and once again, it's very country and, outskirts type thing. Wynonna's not savvy at that. Doc isn't savvy at that.
He's old.
Dolls isn't savvy at that. So yes, they technically do at this moment need somebody who is inside a Black Badge, who knows Black Badge, who has the access to those things, and can, like I said, do the serums on the side and blah blah blah.
And I just feel like his willingness to work with the team and just betray his job entirely, that was weak to me. And it wasn't. It was in storyline, see the back of this guy randomly following them through the monsters. If someone got hit in the back of the head by, an outside person coming into your job and attacking you, that's like battery. You don't open all the alarm doors and just continue on with the plan. You call in security. You have more alarm for that. I just felt like his response wasn't. It was I didn't like it.
No, I get it. And the thing that they actually did, they set up that he has a history with Xavier, or dolls. So I would like to see that history. The reason why he helped them wasn't for his own sake, it was because he wanted to save dolls. So I want to see what that is, how he comes into play with that guy, why he knows his.
I didn't feel like that was
like that.
established enough to make me understand that he cared for dolls in that kind of way at all. I just felt like it was weak, and the last little detail that they had to add because they needed to set it up, but it wasn't like as strong as all the other things in the episode.
Well, of course not. We have a whole season with the rest of these people, and he's new. Also, they are going to introduce another character. I don't know when, but so far they were kind of told that we were getting 2 or 3 more new characters in the show. So, once again, we got to look out for that to see what that means. Any final kind of thoughts that you have, Jen, going on, whether it be what you're looking forward to or just this episode?
I think that covers it. I think we talked about all the things that were kind of
important.
Were important, and that our predictions that we're being led towards were. Yeah, that's it.
I actually really liked this premiere. I thought it was a fun premiere. I watched it a few times, and honestly, because I'm a fan of the show, going back, there were things that I just kept loving and kept watching. We got a little Nicole Hot side boob. Yes, please. We got, cute things like Nicole saying, I was thinking about cutting my hair, because we know later in the season she does cut her hair. They even show it on the promotional photos. So can't wait to see how that actually happens. I think it's very smart how they're pumping up their lead actress. This is an ensemble show, but at the same time, I still don't feel like our main character, like some other shows we've recapped, are being left out. I think this is so much more refreshing. I'm excited to see where we go season 2. It's going to be a crazy ass ride. I'm so stoked. So I'm down for this premiere. If you guys have any comments, any discussions, whether it be a theory of what Waverly is, I would love to see some more fan art of Way Hot and, Beast dolls. Even Jeremy. I want to see some like nerdy, I don't know. Who do you think he's going to be paired up with as far as like a teammate? Is it going to be Nicole? Because I can see that being an interesting local cop, scientist, buddy, ridiculousness, something. Yeah. So how do you think the town is also going to be now that they're blaming Wynonna for everything? And how long do you think that's going to last? Using Wynonna as the cover of everything bad? Because that has to get old after a while, She can't always be the asshole who ruins the town, because eventually they'll say kick her out. So, when do you guys think that's going to happen? Make sure to follow us and hit us up on Twitter at whatabout_dat.
Put us in your ears. We're available on iTunes.
We are. Hit us up at the gym and in the train and just all kinds of goodies, We try to be here for your listening pleasures. Anyways, till next episode, yay Fridays. See you guys later. Bye.